You know, I kind of feel that space games are in a very strange moment right now. I don't know how you feel about that, but either way, let me know in the comments section as I start going through this video. And the way I see it is that the big names, the big AAA and AA space games, are all kind of mature right now. The hype cycles are getting slower as less games and news is being announced, and that means the players are kind of left scrambling, chasing that spark. The feeling that exploration still holds a surprise, that maybe something new will be announced any moment now. And it turns out that's not going to be the case, but every so often something small does appear that reminds us why the genre works so well in the first place. And that's where this game, NTL, No Time Left, comes in. I recently released a video and got a comment from the developer of this game pointing my attention towards it, and I checked it out, and it does look very interesting indeed, so I kind of wanted to talk about it a bit in this video. So this is not yet another empire builder or sandbox game. Instead, we're getting something that's very heavily inspired by FTL, Faster Than Light. It's taken that idea and re-engineered it into a modern game with, modern aesthetics as well, as you can see from the visuals here. At its core then, No Time Left is a space-based strategy and survival experience that's built around command. Much like FTL, it's very much about finding the right balance, and that can mean balancing power, systems and crew, and then often doing this in the middle of a hostile universe, everything is set against you. Ultimately, every decision feeds into a chain of consequences, and these stretch across your play session and can have dramatic impacts. So that means that in many ways this game builds up a very slow, somewhat deliberate kind of tension. And whilst the game doesn't promise hundreds of worlds or infinite exploration, it promises meaning in the few choices that you do actually make. And like in FTL, this is about surviving in a very literal sense and completing your journey. And yes, if it does play out with the variety that the developer implies, then there's going to be a lot of both immersion as well as depth here. A rare combination to be pulled off successfully. It means that in terms of gameplay, you're constantly moving forward, trying to escape the danger before things get any worse. And one thing that's not going to get any worse is you subscribing to this channel. If you haven't done so already, please do think about doing so, because it helps both this video and the channel at large. So listen, I really do believe that one thing that makes a space game is its environments. Good environments are the tapestry that the game is woven into. Bad environments, well, they just tend to break the game. Fortunately, it seems that the environments in NTL are very much alive. Let's start with the magnetars. These are described as raging storms of ions. Their bursts disable any systems or weapon without adequate shielding, and because each species' technology resists differently, the same ship that performs perfectly in one region can falter completely in another. A single gamma ray pulse, for example, can reverse the flow of a battle. Black holes, on the other hand, are, in the developer's very own words, beautiful and deadly. Yeah, that sounds somewhat like my wife. So, the gravitational waves compress and stretch space-time, redshifting the view while the ship's hull, weapons and systems take sustained damage. There's no direct defense here, only a quick reaction, and that means repairs on the fly or a jump to the next system before the next waves hit. And yes, collisions near a black hole amplify all the chaos you're going to see. Solar flares, meanwhile, ignite rather than strike. They light fires across systems of your ship and weapons that grow more intense the longer they burn. Active shields can limit how many fires begin, but they never remove the risk entirely. And flames are drawn from the geometry of the component itself. That means that parts of your ship literally take fire. And this is visible, and it's also escalating until you engage the suppression systems. And according to the devlogs, that suppression system is an augmentation with 3 tiers. Each level extinguishes faster, but every activation carries a cooldown. Even at maximum efficiency, crisis management then remains a part of the game's design. You're never going to get completely away from the crisis. Crisis, chaos and survivability. These are repeating themes. I keep talking about them, and they are certainly a big focus of the game, and it's only natural that this would also extend into combat. Combat control appears to be fairly straightforward, but it's also very deliberate. Targets can be cycled by a hotkey, so that means next, previous or nearest, then locked through a holographic display or a system list. Selected weapons highlight blue. If the firing line crosses your own hull or an ally, that system halts and marks red. It's a small but valuable safeguard that prevents self-inflicted losses. That means that weapons carry their own consequences. For example, a human Mark III nuclear missile delivers a devastating initial impact and leaves a lingering radiation cloud that continues to harm systems, ignite fires, and threaten anything within it, and that, of course, includes you. The developer notes that disabling an opponent's engines can trap them in the fallout, but positioning carelessly can do the same to you, so that's something that you're going to need to avoid. The Iron Blossom, meanwhile, is another standout weapon. It's a weapon capable of disabling everything on a target ship. It's immensely powerful, but described as a double-edged sword, and it demands precision and restraint. And keeping in mind that this is an indie title, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I do believe this is being built by a single lone developer, the visuals themselves are also very nice, and combat as well as space itself really do emphasize that. Now, each ship also has, some other aspects of it as well. There's a visual language going on here. Cloaking effects were built into the game here. You can see a ship remaining visible even when it's hidden, with unique patterns, and these are different on a per-hull basis. And that reinforces the individuality of the ships while they're making everything uniform across the board. Meanwhile, incoming impacts deform the hull mesh itself, and that really shows how damaged areas bend inward, limited by depth and radius values, and then overlays burn and char textures for a grounded physical look. And this is something that you don't see even in AA or AAA space games. I don't know why, I assume it just requires a lot of works. Now, that said, repairs return the panels back to their original shape, and that makes damage and recovery visible rather than just abstract. A big part of the game is also the navigation system. Anyone who's played FTL will know that you really need to be able to get from A to B, and that is a huge focus of the game. It appears that is also a huge focus of NTL. So the star map shows more than just routes. You can also see some icons here that display SOS signals, even without long-range scanners. This gives you optional detours for potential rewards. With each extended sensor or information purchase that you get, icons change meaning. That means yellow indicates can be dedicated to ships, white signals can be no current contact, and blue marks stations where you can repair, trade, or refit. Of course, all of this can change over time, but it gives us a bit of an indication as to the distinctions that the developer is trying to make in terms of the locations you can interact with. Another very interesting system is the hacking element. So hacking introduces direct attention into each different engagement. It means that a dedicated interface has been implemented here, and it allows you to disable a single enemy system through a timed puzzle. 40 seconds to find the correct sequence. A green indicator means that a digit is right and correctly placed. Other colours reveal partial clues. Complete the puzzle, complete this little mini-game, and if you do that successfully, the system that you're targeting shuts down for 10 seconds. And that's long enough, apparently, to press an advantage against your enemy. Once solved, the same target can then be redisabled later, but this time without repeating the puzzle. Now, when enemies attempt to surrender, you're also offered 3 responses: accept, refuse, or request a favour owed later. That third option links into a wider mechanic shown across multiple different dev diaries, and that is a persistent ledger of debts. That means you can turn mercy that you're showing right now into a potential advantage or opportunity later down the line. So, like I said at the start, this has been in development for quite a while. There's a whole load of developer diaries on NTL, and I think I'm going to leave it here in terms of information and come back later on with a bit more of a broader look. And the reason for that is pretty simple. I want to get an overview with this video and perhaps dive in a little bit deeper in future videos, depending on what you all think about this. But yeah, I do feel that this has got a lot of potential. Very, very much liked FTL back in the day when that was released. and well, spent a lot of hours playing that one. Anything that takes that same formula and upgrades it, as this one appears to be doing, has a lot of opportunities and could very likely please a big audience. Let me know what you think about this in the comment section below, because I'd love to hear from you. As always, thanks for watching, do take care, and I'll catch you next time. Oh, and by the way, there is another video on the screen right here if you want to check that out. I'll catch you soon.